Good. Have a good day. You're dismissed. Goodbye.
Hello, welcome people, and happy Saturday to you. I am doing this live stream because I am kind of flabbergasted at government overstepping their boundaries again. It just never fails that these people have never ceased to amaze me while they're trying to be like us and I guess activate from the bench, I believe, because there's a lot of stuff that's connected to this that a lot of people are not covering. So the New Mexico governor, Michelle Grisham, is committing treason by taking the Second Amendment away from law-abiding citizens. And in the declarations itself, it's targeting specific issues with criminals, not law-abiding people. So why would you say people that are law-abiding, open carrying, that means you have the right to possess, right? And you're not a criminal, and the right to have a CPL, those people that have CPLs, have a right to wear it underneath their clothes. They're saying that they're taking it away. I believe that this is a beta test, ladies and gentlemen. I believe this with all my heart because they're seeing how you people, which is us people, are going to handle this situation. Therefore, by staging this beta test, they will see how they're doing in the public polls when they're, especially when it's all about, the actual issue of coming against the actual Second Amendment. I mean, why wouldn't people? I mean, there should be about 15 to 20 lawsuits forthwith. As soon as she released that, lawyers went to filing, writing notes and writing memos and getting their paralegals together and saying, get your butt in here or get on your computer and start filing the proof. They call them proof briefs. In most attorneys' office, they know what that is. It is a quick way of saying that we need something that's going to put an injunction on a God-given right. Okay, and they know that people have the tendencies to write these 30-day legislative executive orders to go to the people every 30 days. But what gets me is she wrote an executive order, and I don't get how this went through the system, but it's there. So let's look at what the actual video and where she herself is saying what she's saying here. So let's see. Is this it right here, or did I already have it on another one? Okay, yeah, this is it right here. So we'll wait for that little commercial to go through because it's online. So I'm gonna skip that ad and we'll pause it and yeah, make it big. Pause it. All right. And here we go, guys. We're going to go down through there on this.
Members of the press for joining us today. I'm going to announce today the details of our public health order that work in concert with the fact that we declared a gun violence public health emergency as an epidemic yesterday. Now, the meat of it, which is why you're here, is what's in that order. But first, I want to make some introductions and tell you why these fine gentlemen are sitting with me. Prior to this meeting or this press announcement, I asked.
For the record, I don't see fine gentlemen.
In law enforcement.
I see tyrants.
Particularly in Bernalillo County. And I want to thank, he's not here, he wasn't able to stay, but DA Sam Bregman for his words of wisdom and advice about how we keep working together to really make sure that we're lining up all of our resources. And we've been doing that. I have to say that in the last year in particular, and the evidence in Albuquerque and Bernalillo County speaks for itself, that we're seeing a reduction in homicides. But this work tends to come and go. And that can't be the way that we do it anymore. And the way that that's occurred in that way, because we all are resource limited.
Right. So the resources that you barely have come from actual taxpayers that actually give a damn about law and order, and you're taking their individual right away from the people that actually follow the law. I'm not getting it so far, but we'll go on.
So we've determined today, and I want to thank you, and I'll introduce everyone around the table, that we don't need any more resource limitations conversations. We need to use
no crap, Sherlock.
The power of a public health and a state of emergency to access different levers, different resources, and use the power of a public health and use the power of a public health.
You hear that, guys?
Resource limitations conversations. We need to use the power of a public health.
I wanted to repeat that several times.
And a state of emergency
power.
To access different levers, different resources, and different opportunities to keep New Mexicans safe.
So let me interpret that real quick. Okay. What she meant to say, without deceiving you in layman's terms, is that we want to gather emergency powers for other issues that pertain to what I'm doing and add that in and gaslight you on everything else and things that's been happening since the beginning of man. Man has been getting high and drunk my whole life, everybody in here, your whole life, and way hundreds and hundreds of years. But she wants to use that specific excuse to tell you that I'm going to take away a God-given right. It's like I'm going to stop you from breathing, because it's the equivalence. Your Second Amendment is the equivalence of breathing, or the First Amendment to religion, the right to believe in God or religion, the right to protest, the right to redress, the right to bear, or the right to redress your government, and the awesome right to expression. So we all understand these things. Michelle Grisham is saying, and going on to the Second Amendment, it only applies to everybody in the United States except Albuquerque, New Mexico, and how she wrote it. So all the 5 elements of the First Amendment backing up the Second Amendment. She's trying to gaslight us into that, okay, which is not happening. But it did happen. Moving on.
So that's what's changed today. And we're going to keep doing this work very closely until we see dramatic addition.
I hear conspiracy in that there too. We're going to keep doing this because at the end of this, she's basically saying, I'll see you in 30 days. because that's what the Constitution calls for. They got to go to the table and do another executive order.
Productive changes in the state. So I don't think anyone around the table needs any introduction, but I'm going to go to my left first. With me today is Chief Harold Medina from the Albuquerque Police Department. Chief, thank you. We have the Bernalillo County Sheriff, John Allen. We also have Commander Hernandez from the Albuquerque Police Department. To my right, we have the Deputy Secretary Baker from the Department of Public Safety. We also have the Chief of State Police, Chief Weisler, and maybe new to the conversation in this space, but not new to the effort, is former State Police Chief Pete Cassettis, who joins us today in a new official capacity.
A new official capacity, she says, ladies and gentlemen. Before I go on, I want to say hello to everybody and welcome Jonathan, Brian, Brent, Indiana, AFE, Bo Dreyfus, I think, I can't really see it. Whoever you are, you know what I'm talking about. H. Clay, John Eagle, if I haven't said it, ZXL Master, William, M, and everybody else that is in, welcome to my channel. Thank you for coming. Let's get back to the tyrants, ladies and gentlemen.
And he is our newly announced Crime Reduction Director, helping us keep the navigation and the coordination of all the different levers, resources, and opportunities to make New Mexicans safer as possible. What I have in the public health order.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry to interrupt that. She said to make New Mexicans safer. Law-abiding citizens cannot carry guns in Albuquerque, New Mexico, because she's trying to make y'all safer. Wait till you see what she wrote in her declaration. Wait till you see this. And the word safer is so far away from the truth.
Is not agreed to by every member sitting at this table, nor was it developed with all of their expertise at the front end. What you'll see is I'm taking on all the major issues, and as I give you the details of the public health order, which I'm going to do in a minute, you'll see that some of them are going to pose incredible challenges for me as a governor and as a state, and I welcome the debate and the fight about making the Mexicans safer.
Oh, she had to repeat it, ladies and gentlemen. She welcomes it. She is challenging you to this, all in the name of activism, to bring awareness to the real problem, which is not the Second Amendment at all. The Second Amendment absolutely has nothing to do with her narrative. For the record, moving forward.
Before I give you the details of the public health order, I am going to ask the Deputy Secretary just to put into context, not that you need it, about just how dire we think the situations are around the state, and in particular, the largest city, the nexus of I-25 and I-40, present very particular challenges for all of us in keeping New Mexicans safe. Deputy Secretary.
Madam Governor, thank you. Members of the press and the public, welcome the opportunity to speak on a subject matter that's close to my heart. Last month, while attending my oldest son's first Yaffle football practice at a public park in the city of Albuquerque, where I began my law enforcement career and have served for many years, and I'm proud of and love. In front of the view of 90 school children, directly adjacent to a public middle school, 4 juveniles approached one another and began an active gun battle 5 feet away from my son and his teammates.
Let me
living in
make
Albuquerque
this
and Bernalillo
very
County.
clear.
I believe that
Okay.
you're safer for the next 30 days.
She's going to make you safer for the next 30 days. Okay. So I'm sorry. I needed to go back to him because for some reason my mouse clipped and cut him out.
And the intentional fighting action were harmed. That is just ancillary personnel, the moms, the dads.
Sorry, I'm trying to get back to where it was. This is not
just how dire
a
we
YouTube
think the
video
situations
here. This is
are
an
around
online
the
video
state,
that
and in
I gotta
particular
go
the
by.
largest city, the
It's
nexus of I-25 and I-40
crap.
present very particular challenges for all of us in
Okay,
keeping
let's
them.
see.
Oldest son's
Here we
first
go.
Yaffle football practice at a public park in the city of Albuquerque, where I began my law enforcement career and had served for many years.
Sorry about that, ladies
Proud
and
of
gentlemen.
and love.
Forgive me.
In front of the view of 90 school children, directly adjacent to a public middle school, 4 juveniles approached one another and began an active gun battle.
Okay, so 4 juveniles that committed a crime that are now criminals, that were criminals before they actually pulled the trigger because it's a no gun zone and they're too young to be shooting at each other, let alone, to possess any firearms, period. So they committed a crime. They're criminals. See, law-abiding people that carry their guns on them don't take them out and start getting into gun battles. They don't do that. It's always criminals that do that, ladies and gentlemen. Always criminals.
5 feet away from my son and his teammates. All of the ancillary personnel, the moms, the dads, the little brothers and sisters, the kids playing in the playground, were impacted by the gunfire that was happening around them and the subsequent stabbing and destruction of evidence. Myself and some of the other parents responded in a way to try and get the children to safety, and thank God, none of the children not involved in the intentional fighting action were harmed. That is just, thank God. Who was harmed was the 13-year-old who brought the gun to this park, and the 14-year-old who was also stabbed. I treated those gunshots.
So both of those criminals were dealt with. And hopefully the prosecutor will do their job and put them in a youth home. And whoever didn't have their gun safe locked should be held accountable for that if there was one, if they did get it from their homes. Okay? That is just flat out fact. You are responsible for your guns, parents, ladies and gentlemen. So if you do have guns in your homes, it is in your best interest to keep them locked up and secure so this won't happen to your children or any of your people around your school buildings.
Shot and stab wounds at the scene while we waited for
criminals don't do that. Excuse me, only criminals do that. That's a criminal action. Ignorance of the law is that these kids know it is against the law. With all these gun shootings and all this awareness that's being brought to the Democratic Party that runs every school in the United States of America, and the perpetration of how bad guns are, you're trying to tell me that these children didn't hear that? Bullshit. I call bullshit.
to arrive, additionally securing the pieces of evidentiary value that would be useful to the prosecution,
Another beta test.
which is being undertaken by the Bernalillo County Sheriff. In nearly 27 years of law enforcement experience, I've responded to thousands of active violent criminal events. I have never responded to one before with my son present, and I don't recommend that course of action for anyone else. It has had a marked effect on my perception of something that I'm very familiar with, and the impact is significant. I have seen a deterioration and escalation in violence perpetrated with guns, particularly among our young people, in a manner that I have never seen before.
Probably because of all the policies and tyranny that is going on. People get desensitized when you put all these violent games and all this learned behavior on the streets because everybody wants to be a victim as they're perpetrating to be a gangster. Everybody wants to be in charge. All chiefs and no Indians.
I share that story with you to raise awareness. Media, many members in this room covered that story when it happened because it was significant when it happened. Well, I saw it with my own eyes. And
I can care less about what this tyrant that doesn't have a pair of cuffs, that ain't arresting the woman to her left, to his left. I believe that this person is guilty of treason. As soon as she signed the law, she became a tyrant, and she is now guilty of treason. All right? The treason in New Mexico law that says Article 16 of the Bill of Rights, treason against the state shall constitute a levy of war against it, abhor to its enemies, or giving them aid and comfort. You are stopping us, or excuse me, New Mexicans, okay, from protecting themselves. Law-abiding people that has been given a permission slip that they should have never had to begin with, because the Second Amendment exists for that fact. So you are attacking law-abiding people that has nothing to do with those children, absolutely nothing to do with those two children that were carrying knives and guns that stabbed and shot one another. Absolutely nothing to do with it. What does that have to do with the rest of those law-abiding people? Absolutely nothing.
And this problem is real, and I'm grateful to be part of the solution, and I'm grateful for...
That's the solution? You go after the law-abiding people, and criminals are still... Because remember, the criminals are the ones breaking the rules. Criminals are the ones breaking the laws. So if the law-abiding people are still law-abiding and they still are carrying the way they should in the expectation thereof in the Second Amendment, shall not be infringed upon for any reason. For any reason. Shall not be infringed upon. Remember that. It shall not be infringed upon at all. The Second Amendment, a well-regulated militia being necessary to the Secretary of a free state, that the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. The governor levied war against the Second Amendment by infringing upon it. Therefore, she is guilty of treason. I don't care about the gaslighting. I don't care about the corrosive control and the authority that stands behind it. You have violated your oath, and you need to be replaced forthwith. If this happened in the 1800s, she would be hanging from a tree right in front of their capital. Because that is how American culture started. That's where the death penalty was. If they committed treason, the House would vote 2/3. They only needed a 2/3 vote, and they would carry it forthwith. That's why they have a sergeant of arms there. They're the judge, jury, and executioner there. That is all law enforcement. They can enforce, they can legislate, and carry out orders. That is how that was done when you are an enemy of the state and you commit treason against the American people.
Governor's work in bringing together the agencies and the resources to aid our community at this difficult time. Thank you for allowing me to share that, Governor.
Thank you.
And why do you think deprivation of rights has the death penalty attached to it? We went over that in our live stream yesterday together. The Wolbe family that has been paying attention to Wolbe knows what I'm talking about. I proved it in law just like I'm going to prove it today.
Chief, and as many people here know, it's not an
I just want you guys to hear the tyranny.
Incident. And there isn't one of us sitting right here who doesn't respond in our official capacity, who isn't a current business owner in Albuquerque, or isn't a mother or a grandmother or a father or a grandfather.
I'm going to speed this along here because I don't think.
At a grocery store.
I want to hear, we already know what. I want to hear these tyrants with the badge. This is another cop watch to me.
Safety environment to work better together. Does anybody, I don't have to be the only one talking.
You hear that?
I think
that's because they know they're committing tyranny. She's like, well, don't leave me out here to rot and stink. There's 7 people at this table. Say something. I'm wrong and I need help.
Important that we recognize that there are certain things we agree on. A lot of things. There's some things we don't agree upon. But I think that's the beauty of this, is we could still all sit here and recognize that we have to work together. And I invite any help that we could get in Albuquerque from any entity. And some of the things that we spoke about is like, how do we get the right resources out to the Metro Detention Center?
So this guy's talking about resources instead of saying, Governor, you're going about this the wrong way. I have sworn an oath to the Constitution, to the United States of America, and New Mexico compiled law that says that I cannot and will not infringe upon the Second Amendment, and you just asked me to do so. Ma'am, I'm sorry. I have to withdraw myself from this and go find me a handcuffs. You better not be here when I come back. That is what should have been happened from this guy. I do not want to hear any more this guy has to say. So let's move to the next guy that speaks.
But I read all kinds of things, and it said, what is the mayor doing? What is the governor doing? What is the AG doing? What is the chief? And what is the sheriff doing to address gun violence? Here you go. And like I said, the chief said before, we had arguments in here before, and we had robust arguments. The whole point is, what can we do, just not for the whole state, but specifically what we're in charge of is Bernalillo County. At the same time, we're not going to tell you every operation that we're doing, but we're not only just tired of it, we're seeing people die in the process of waiting for everything to happen, waiting for everything to be perfect, waiting for all the people power that we're supposed to get for our office or our agency. We can't do that anymore. So we're working together. So here we are. Here's a photo of it. The state police, the APD, the new director, the governor.
So when he said, here we are working together, we call that here on the Wobie channel and in the real legal world, Title 18-241. That's conspiracy against our rights. So everybody, the New Mexicans are being conspired upon. You can use this as A, and you can use this as B in conspiracy. A doesn't have to know what C's doing as long as B gets accomplished. This table is B. They are the ones that committed conspiracy together. One or more. It only takes 2 people to actually commit conspiracy in the United States compiled law.
We have a bunch of resources that we can utilize to make sure that we start making a dent. As far as the questions you had earlier, I said the other day in a press conference with DA Bregman, it's time for tough love. We cannot force
tough love has absolutely nothing to do with your Second Amendment. I'm going to skip this guy because he's getting on my nerves. I don't want to hear no more because he didn't get his cuffs out, okay? And he didn't arrest this lady standing next or sitting next to her, trying to bring him in on her crime. And I think it is an insult to us all, when they sit at a table perpetrating a fraud, pretending to be here for safety. There's nothing about this that is safe. You taking law-abiding people's rights away is not making them any safer. So what I want to do is get to this moron right here. This other traitor to the United States Constitution.
How do you get a retired state police chief that's very happy being retired to come back into the building he swore he never stepped foot in?
He said he swore he'd never step in there. I wonder why.
Saying, hey, I have a position for you where you can make a difference and get off the sidelines. That position is simply put, if I do my job, I'm out of a job in 30 days, maybe 60 days, depending on how long this order stood up. It's because I can work, and I hopefully continue to work with the gentleman sitting at this table, and I have history with them.
You mean the tyrant?
The chief and the sheriff. Sometimes not always great, and sometimes great. But the reality is that I want to be, or I'm in a position where I can coordinate the efforts and the resources that the governor's office has available to them to best directly attack the issue at hand. And for me, it's very laser focused. It's violent crime in the metro. I'm speaking as a business owner and a resident.
You still did not articulate any crime New Mexicans have committed that each specific person that you've carried out deprivation of rights under the color of law, 241 and 242, you have not justified taking their rights away from them. This is taxation without representation. This is without due process. And you 9/10 of the law is possession. So if you have it, they cannot come and take it back without charging you with something.
Got a grandson that's going to grow up in that environment. How can I best help that address that situation? And quite frankly,
basically what he's saying is, how can I come together and help these established tyrants sitting at this table right now in New Mexico? How can I do it? By getting behind them and committing more treason? Wrong answer. I'm done listening to this guy.
it's to.
I mean, Lord have mercy. I'm going to prove my case, you know. I'm going to wait for this last person and see if they have anything they're going to say, which they don't. So she closes it up.
But I can't in 30 days. If I can turn down the temperature, it's not illegal for a young person to have an automatic weapon.
Listen to this.
I'm just curious if anyone wants to step up and speak. What specifically do you disagree with?
Can I just do it? I think and I'm going to thank Milan for his really tough questions. They're fair. It's the concealed and open carry. Because if we could modify that with evidence that suggests that you're safer if you do, but I can't in 30 days. If I can turn down the temperature, it's not illegal for a young person to have an automatic weapon, just a handgun.
So a 30... to her, a young person is 25 years old. That's what a young person is to me, let alone 20 or 19. Over the age of 18, you can shoot them and own one. You can't buy one until you're 21. So basically what that means is, if your mom and dad left you property and you're old enough to receive that property, you're old enough to be in possession of that property. You still have to abide by the federal and state laws of how you keep and bear that property. Okay, so moving forward, I'm gonna
can't arrest that person.
This.
If we tell the bad actors, and I realize it's a pinch and then some on responsible gun owners, I'm clear, it is. It's a sacrifice that allows everyone else to get their arms around a growing, significant problem.
Listen,
thinks that, that's
excuse me, Michelle, if I was sitting at this table, Michelle, I would be telling you the problem isn't that knife that child had, nor is it the gun that other child had. The problem is several different things that I can articulate right away. How did the child get that gun? So if we find out their parents had it and didn't lock it, their parents should be charged with that crime as well. And if the child bought it off the streets, that's because another criminal, another criminal that's not abiding by the law, has nothing to do with law-abiding citizens in New Mexico. It has something to do with specific people. You have to have a specific person and quit trying to say that you have the authority. Basically, what they're saying is that they have the authority to put in a John Doe into the grand jury and basically indict a ham sandwich. Is that good enough for you guys? That's basically what they're saying. You don't even need a name. All you're going to do is present your case. And if that grand jury says, nope, because they all know each other, they've been working with each other for years, their party lines, and of course, unfortunately, it's always the Democrats that are against the Second Amendment. I don't know what it is. I know so many Democrats that carry guns. I'm not political, so I don't care about. That's why I know what Republicans think and what Democrats think, because I don't watch those channels on TV. I have my own channel, and I watch different channels all over the web, different places of the world. Okay, I don't just watch our stuff because that's why they call it fake news. You know, we're not going to get the real deal Holyfield here. You know. And most cops now are heartless tyrants. Yes, they are. So I'm going to let her finish out and then check the dog crap out of her.
Or that's the best or the number one idea. But I'm doing it because I think that debate and getting into the session about what does need to work is appropriate.
Okay, that debate you can have at your trial if you were in the 1900s. If you were anywhere before, let's say 1960 and before, you would be in front of a judge standing trial, and that would be her debate. Okay? I don't know why people are taking this laying down. I heard that this was passed 2 days ago. So that is kind of crazy to me.
And if not me, then who is going to initiate the debate? And actually, you asked me, what more would you do? How far? What will it take for you to do everything in your power?
She was about to say, how far are you willing to go to commit treason? That is what she's saying.
I'm embarrassed to say that it took another child's death.
See, now she's blame shifting. She's trying to say it's our fault because the law-abiding people that have these weapons should surrender their weapons on the narrative that other people won't get them in the future when you pass on. Bull crap! If somebody wants to commit a crime against another person and hurt them, that other kid you heard had a knife. You didn't hear her banding knives, did you? You see what I'm saying? Moving on.
But we're going to keep pushing. So
yeah, plan, pitch, take, deny all the way to the end, just like Saul Alinsky. That's the rules and radicals of Saul Alinsky, which is an Orwellian totalitarian.
The pressure.
Orwellian totalitarian authoritarian.
I didn't pull off a firefighter or stop going into the north until that fire was out. I'm not going to stop yelling at the feds or living in, temporary housing to bring.
And that's your right to do so. And it is your obligation to bring awareness to it, but you can't commit treason while doing it. You have a duty and an obligation to follow the Constitution of the United States of America. That is first and foremost in your life. Don't you understand that, you tyrant?
Like to that situation until they have their resources. I'm not going to stop pushing on public safety.
And I'm not going to stop pushing back and watching you tyrants. It's people like me, handicapped, crippled, coming out of nowhere that actually tries to put some type of, I might not be the best guy or the smartest guy in the room here. I might not be direct nuts on point on every point that I make, but at least I give it my damnness to show my subscribers and the rest of the American people that tune in to my channel to know that I'm going to be transparent and honest with you and show you the laws that I'm reading that comes to my conclusions.
Until it's safe. And I'm sure some things will work better than others, and I'm sure things will get adjusted. I'm sure I'll get restrictions that make it clear what I can and cannot do, and we keep fighting until every child, every family, every neighbor, every community, every city, every village is the safest it can possibly be in the state of New Mexico. And I want to
They are, ZXL Master. You didn't hear? They're trying to make electric cars because not everybody can afford it. So they're just making deterrents to stop people from actually, driving. And that is why we can't drill in the U.S. They're doing their damnness. They're doing their damnness. I don't like getting political, but you know what? You know what, guys? Sometimes you got to come off your high horse and come down to their level and actually participate somewhere to activate something, to get something accomplished, just to get a little relief. Okay? These New Mexicans need to get these liberals out of office because they're the ones that's taking your life by saying what they're saying. They are putting you in jeopardy. These people have armed people around them 24/7. They have absolutely no problem without carrying a weapon themselves. How special is that for them to feel secure for them? What about everybody that has to deal with all the stuff that they're talking about, the criminals that are not paying attention? Who's going to protect the law-abiding people? Because all the cops do is what? What do the cops do? Here, I'm getting rid of this woman. I don't want her on my screen no more right now. What do cops do? They come when it's all over with. They come after the shots were fired. In 99.9% of these cases, they come after people have been shot. They come after people that are laying dead or needed help and got to the hospital. They come after putting up the yellow tape, trying to get witnesses and gather evidence against these criminals. They ain't stopping nothing because they're too busy out on the streets doing traffic duty, extorting the public, giving, like in Taylor, they're giving a ticket every 6 minutes. So if anybody ever gets shot and killed in the city of Taylor, you know what? Police officers need to be dealing with crime, not extorting the working man. That's all they are, is a business for profit. The bootlickers need to wake up and understand that these people are not who they say they are, especially with them Democratic freaking policies. And the majority of these people out here that hate cops are Democrats. They want to take your guns and get rid of law enforcement. What the heck does that mean? Let alone them filthy, stinking, narcissistic Republicans that want to get into your bank account and want all your money and tax the hell out of you as well. No taxation for representation. They pretend to say, yes, we love the Second Amendment. We love the Constitution. They are closer, the greater the two evils. I no longer have faith in those people. I was a Democrat for 27 years, and then I became a Republican for 5.5. Oh my God, this is stupid. And I got out of it. I'm no longer riding those political lines. I see right through the tyrants. They are no good. They are worthless. And to me, the guy that wasn't the politician, which is Donald Trump, which is he was a narcissistic bastard billionaire that didn't care about nobody but himself. But at least he knew how to run a business. At least he got us respect around the world and made these people chip in when all the taxpayers are paying for everything around the world, including the defense over there against Russia. You see what's happening? All you got to do is open your eyes, man. I stay out of every election except this next one for the presidency. And if you were smart, you know what to do too. But I ain't going to tell you how to vote because I'm not political. I'm not going to be. They are straight up Orwellian totalitarians. And for what history tells me, Hitler, right before he became chancellor, he became man of the year. Isn't it painfully obvious that the same thing is happening when they made Kamala Harris and Biden man and woman of the year? You don't see that as a problem, as a pattern in what they've done in the last 3 years? How we're sitting here with all this inflation, how you got to pay. Wow, you got a $15, up to $15 now an hour. Oh my God. You know how much a Happy Meal is? Do you know how much a quarter pounder with cheese medium meal is? Just under $10 when it used to be $6.89 just 2 years ago. What happened? They happened. The policy change. That is what happened. When you steal our resources and you give them away and you sell them and you stop us from our energy and taking care of our business and scare people with climate change. All bullcrap. You ain't changing nothing. Neither am I. And the binding agreement that was signed, this is a fact, ladies and gentlemen. This is a fact. The binding agreement that Barack Obama and that moron that's in office right now went to the United Nations back in 2014 or 2013 and got everybody to sign it. Russia, theirs was a non-binding agreement. China was a non-binding agreement. Saudi Arabia was a non-binding agreement. All 196 countries that signed that, with the 88% of them was non-binding agreements, meaning you can't stick it to them. It wasn't worth the paper that it was printed on or signed on. Meaning it only affected the United States and our leadership. That's all it did. As us being number one in the United States. Now we're like number 5. Thanks. Appreciate it. I don't know about you, but I'm on a fixed income. I can't work. I'm handicapped legally. So I paid into a system for 27 years that pays me a month. And I paid into that. So I'm entitled to that. I paid into it. I'm on SSD. I'm not on dumb money, which is SSI. I have credits that I earned. Anyway, moving forward. So I'm going to get rid of this. And then I'm going to bring up this. Getting back to the facts. Now, treason New Mexico Constitutional Article 2 Bill of Rights 16. treason against the state shall consist of only levying against war against it, adhering to its enemies, or giving them aid and comfort, and no person shall be convicted of treason unless the testimony of two people of the same or act or confession is open court. Now, we already know that we have a video of this woman, and we have a signed declaration, which is, here it is. This is her, this should be Exhibit A right here that will convict her for her crime against the people of New Mexicans. New Mexico Department of Health, Public Health Order in New Mexico Department of Health, Secretary, I'm not going to read all that. Whereas, as the reasons in the Governor Michelle Grisham executive order, well, let me do that. No, it's not going to. Of 2023, 132, gun violence and drug abuse currently constitute a statewide public emergency as defined in the Public Health Emergency Response Act. Punishable to the executive order, I have begun collaborating with the New Mexico Department of Homeland Security and the Energy Management of New Mexico Department of Public Safety, and the Governor's Office provided a fashion and a coordinator response to the public health emergencies. Whereas the New Mexico Department of Health possesses legal authority pursuant to the Public Health Act of New Mexico compiled law, basically, in 1978, sections 2411 to 40, the Public Health Emergency Response Act. In 1978, the sections of 971 to 18 to inherit the constitutional police powers of New Mexico State to preserve and promote such public and safety, to maintain and enforce rules for the control of conditions of health of importance, and temporary firearm restriction, drug monitoring as another public safety measure are necessary to address current public health emergencies. Now, therefore, I, Patrick Allen, Secretary of New Mexico of the Health Adherence Authority, invested in my name by the Constitution and the laws of the state under the All Hazard Material Acts, do hereby declare that gun violence and drug constitute coordinate conditions of public health as defined in New Mexico State Law 1978, Section 2418A, to hereby order direct as follows: no person within the law enforcement officers or licensed security officers shall possess a firearm as directed in the compiled law of what I just said, and concealed with the cities, and continues the averaging 1,000 or more. So basically what it come down to is Albuquerque, New Mexico. That is what it come down to. All right? On the private property, blah, 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 blah. Therefore, I direct an order shall be dismissed in English, Spanish, and appropriate. So it's going to be released in every language out in there. Trigger locks shall be made available to charge to all firearm owners, provided that the owner shall only be entitled to be one free trigger. So you understand what that means? They're basically saying one day you're only going to be allowed. They're going to try to take away all of them except one, and you get to pick it because they're only going to give you one. See that? See, they think they're slick, but they're not. Any person to enter into Wilfield that violates this order is subject to civil administrative penalties available to law, which probably takes your right to the Fourth Amendment right away from you in New Mexico. The order shall be effective September 8, 2023 and remain in effect for the duration of the health emergency declared. The executive order of 2023-130 and 2023-132, and subject to renewal of the health emergency unless otherwise rescinded. This should be prevented and applicants and the circumstances upheld invalid in court and law in the remainder of order of applicant preventions to another person's circumstances shall remain in full force and effect. Sincerely, Tyrant Maggie, Treasurer Oliver, Secretary of State, and of course, Patrick Allen, Secretary of New Mexico Department of Health. And that's that. So you have right there all the conspiracy, all the main information that you need to charge these people with 241 and 242. And a lot of conspiracy in 241. I'm telling you, y'all, this is crazy. I'm going to go back quiet on that note because I think I've made my point. I think it is painfully obviously that these people do not have the authority, and it's going to be struck down in the next 10 to 15 days anyway. But in the meantime, back at the ranch, y'all have a great day. God bless. And I'll see you in the comments section. Wolvie's back quiet reading the mail show.